Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the Autodromo here in Brno, where we are about to go racing for the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli class, which features two classifications in terms of the drivers. We have pro drivers and we have AM drivers as well. Unbelievably, we're reaching the sharp end of the championship already with just Barcelona to come, and then it is the Glittering World Finals in Monza at the beginning of November. You can see there all the tracks that we have been to. So I think it was 4 years ago that we were last here with the Ferrari Challenge in this Brno circuit, 5.4 kilometers. It's around about 20 kilometers or so from the center of Brno itself, a fascinating city and a fascinating circuit as well, made up of some 15 turns, 6 of them left, 9 of them right-handers. Opened for the first time back in 1987 and has seen quite a lot of race action, including in its time DTM and Formula 3 and GT1, and of course it's one of the favored MotoGP tracks. And the Ferrari Challenge is back here. Air temperature 26 degrees, just a degree or so higher for the track temperature, and we're around about 8 minutes or so away from the cars being released on their formation lap. And there is our pole sitter, Niklas Nielsen. What a star he's been in the Ferrari Challenge this year. He made his intentions known at the World Finals at the end of last year when he was a guest driver at Mugello, and then cut such a swathe through the pack, has committed to a full season this year with Formula Racing, and really has not looked back. An extraordinary driver that has taken some 5 wins in the championship so far. As we look at the P0 tyres from Pirelli then, and remind you about the Pirelli Colour Edition, the safety car fitted with those Colour Edition tyres, and the exclusive possibility to customise each car by choosing among hundreds of tyre colours. Each Ferrari round then, a new colour combined with the red of the Ferrari Challenge safety car creates a different concept, and of course Pirelli inviting you to be part of it to decide what the colours will be for the Finale Mondiale World Final event in Monza in November. So the Pirelli coloured edition tyres that we're looking at on the Hublot safety car at the moment. That will lead the cars away, of course, on their formation lap. Always a rolling start, and Sean Hudspeth joins us here, makes his debut race in the Ferrari Challenge, and he's done very well in qualifying. He will be going from P2 on the grid. Let's take a look at the surroundings then of Brno and the circuit. So a little postcard of Brno here as we look at the car of Björn Grossman then, who has had 40 career wins then, and actually just got it wrong slightly in qualifying and wasn't able to put the lap together that he anticipated, and therefore he will be going from the second row of the grid, P3 on the grid for Björn Grossman. Niklas Nielsen, P1, Sean Hudspeth, P2, then it's Björn Grossman, then the best of the AM drivers is Jan Dennis, who will be going from P4 on the grid. Local driver is Jan Dennis. And there you can see the number 81 car of the lady racer, Fabienne Volvend, who's won for class the last of the 3 races. Doing very well indeed is Fabienne Volvend.
Hello and welcome to Brno. I am Björn Grossman and I'm racing for Octane 126. Brno is a really technical circuit. We have a lot of high-speed and low-speed corners. Also, it goes the hill up and the hill down. So we have a lot of parts where we can overtake and a lot of parts we can make a lot of mistakes. So it will be an interesting race. The Ford Ace Challenge is a really good car for this track. We have a lot of horsepower, so we can accelerate really good on the small chicanes. Also, it's a lot of fun to play with the ABS and with the traction control. So, watch the Ferrari Challenge races here in Brno.
Cheers, Björn. That was a really interesting piece, and well done to the crew for putting that together. Björn Grossman then giving us a little explanation of the Brno circuit. Alongside me is Sam Bird, top GT driver, official Ferrari GT driver, as we look at Robert Purgel making his return into the Ferrari Challenge, his last race, Monza 2015. Some of what Björn was saying, Sam, and I know you don't know this track apart from having run it very well in terms of everything that you've raced. Brno hasn't featured on your fixture list, but it is a blooming difficult track.
Yeah, it is. I ran it last night, and I've got to say that on the TV you really don't get the impression of just how undulating this circuit is.
Sure.
There's a climb out of the second to last chicane, going up to the final complex of corners, and it is so steep. Honestly, I can't tell you. It's really difficult to run it last night. But yeah, a lot of long radius corners, which is going to be interesting to see how the tyres hold up. We run on Pirelli slicks.
Yes.
Pirellis typically not the best on combined. They like to be driven in a straight line, get it turned, get it out. Okay. These are long radius corners. We're going to see a lot of heat in those tyres, and we're going to see quite a bit of deg, I reckon, today.
Okay, and so probably towards the end of the race, particularly for those drivers that have really pushed at the start of the race, the deg is going to be greater for them, and therefore we could see them perhaps become vulnerable towards the end of the race.
Exactly. If there's a driver out there that is very quick at the beginning and is running a lower TC setting, towards the end of the race they might struggle. I mean, they might not, but I'm suspecting that they might tend to fade a little bit in comparison to the guy that is still quick at the beginning but has more TC at the beginning also.
By TC you mean traction control?
Exactly, yes.
That's something that Björn was talking about, how he said, you know, it's great fun to play with the ABS and to play with the traction control, because those are two settings that the drivers can actually alter whilst they're racing.
Exactly, you can alter them on the steering wheel as you drive. Everything else has to be mechanically changed by the team. With the TC, you've got two different rotaries on the steering wheel that you can change the TC. You can change how soon, when you pick up the throttle, how soon it kicks in and how much it kicks in.
Interesting. So race one start not far away then, and as you can see, some 55 seconds before the start of the formation lap, and it's a long lap as well, 5.4 kilometers, 30 minutes the race duration as always in the Ferrari Challenge, and the mix of drivers, because we have the pros and the AM drivers that will be competing in this first race of two for each category across the course of the weekend. Good number of spectators here already to enjoy the first day of real race action. Of course, the drivers have been here and they've been testing during the course of the week, and that must be valuable as well, Sam, just to, you know, for those that haven't experienced the Brno circuit, but those that have, you know, it's recalling the unique natures of these tracks.
Exactly. What it does as well is that if everybody's had a lot of track time, it brings everybody a lot closer together in terms of times, which makes qualifying key, because everybody's going to be so close in this race, it might actually be quite difficult to overtake.
Thank you, Sam. Here's our pole sitter then.
I'm very happy to win this pole position in Brno in AM class, and I hope the race will be really good. I enjoy it very, and this track is one of my favorite track in Brno. Nevertheless, I'm Slovak, but this is like Czech track, but my favorite. Thank you. I'm very happy.
Jan Dennis, thank you very much. Pole sitter in the AM class. English, of course, not his first language, but I think we can get from that he's pretty happy to have taken pole position.
We got what he meant. We got the gist of it. He is happy, and so he should be. I mean, he's ahead of 2 pros, so why not? Starting 4th on the grid. If he stays there, he wins his class.
Yes.
So great stuff. So
the cars are off on their formation lap then. We've talked about this in the past, Sam. You know, on a formation lap, what are the drivers doing here? Is it a sighting lap, or are they thinking about trying to get some heat into everything?
They've done their sighting lap, which was the lap to the grid. Now, what you'll be doing is preparing your tyres, preparing your brakes in the best way you possibly can for the race start.
And that's exactly what they're doing then, as we look at the number 81 car of Fabienne Volvent, who's actually 3rd fastest in the AM classification. The lady racer, who of course was first ever lady to take an outright win in the Ferrari Challenge. There's Jens Liebhauser then, who has been elevated this year. His last year's AM champion goes into the pro class this year. And there is Jens Liebhauser being closely followed there by Chris Froggatt. Now, Chris Froggatt is a real wonder boy, in my opinion, Sam, because entered the Ferrari Challenge last year, had never done any racing, basically had been out in the Middle East over the winter to get his points for a license, and came here and now leads the AM Championship. I mean, that's a remarkable turnaround from a non-racer to being a very quick racer.
Yeah, that's a huge step. This was a huge step for him, and he's done extremely well. He's learned quickly, stayed out of trouble most of the time, and he sits at the top of the leaderboard in Pro-Am. What's going to be interesting, in my opinion, is the hopeful battle between Grossman, Hubspieth and Nielsen. You've got Grossman, who will probably be a little bit angry with himself because of a mistake in qualifying. Hubspieth, who comes to this championship, I think, for the first time.
Indeed so.
But he's got plenty of racing pedigree, and you've got the hot shoe in the young Nielsen. So I think we're in for, or could be in for, a cracking little race.
We're on board with Martin Nelson then, and we now go on board with the Hublot safety car. As the cars come up behind the safety car now, they'll get into grid order side by side. Niklas Nielsen, Sean Hudspeth on the front row of the grid. As Sam Bird alongside me has correctly identified, Niklas Nielsen very much the hot shoe in this championship. However, Sean Hudspeth, with his debut race in the Ferrari Challenge, will want to make an extremely good impression. He's done that already in qualifying by putting the car P2 on the grid. Let's go racing. So as the lights go out then, let's go racing already. Niklas Nielsen and Bjorn Grossman already on a charge to try and get past Sean Hudspeth as they go 3 abreast. Running into turn number 1. Look at Bjorn Grossman on the inside now. As good move from Sean Hudspeth right at the start of the race to try and keep with Niklas Nielsen, but being mugged now by Bjorn Grossman. Indeed, Bjorn Grossman has put himself up into P2, and the chase is on to Niklas Nielsen. From a start point of view, Niklas Nielsen just nailed it and got it absolutely right, and the chase is on.
Look at Jan Dennis down the inside into P2.
You're absolutely right. Jan Dennis then, don't know quite what happened there, but
oh no,
Jan Dennis was gone backwards, hasn't he, when you consider where he started, but Niklas Nielsen leading from Sean Hudspeth, and there is Jan Dennis. So Niklas Nielsen, Hudspeth, then it's Bjorn Grossman, Jens Liebhauser. Martin Nelson was the best of the AM drivers right at the start of the race, and that's good news for Martin Nelson, who missed a round earlier on. The start is under investigation. Do you know what? We see that on the screen nearly every Ferrari Challenge race because of the rolling start. There is John Dillon, who I was speaking to just before I came up into the commentary studio here, and John saying his qualifying, he had an awful time of it, and he was just going to try and keep out of trouble at the start. There's the lady racer Fabienne Volvent. And Niklas Nielsen stretching his legs already in the space of just not even a lap. He's built a 1.8 second margin as Alessandro Vezzoni and Martin Nelson are side by side. And there is the Chris Froggatt car, who's battling there with Jan Dennis in the all yellow machine. So Chris Froggatt on the outside of Jan Dennis looks like he's going to go through here, because he'll have the inside for the next line. And sure enough, he does go through. There's Jens Liebhauser then running in P4 at the moment. But what amazes me, Sam, after this start is just how Niklas Nielsen has been able to escape up the road.
Yeah, after a initial little scare going into turn one with plenty of people attacking him. Here we see some battles further down the field earlier on in the lap. He's got his head down and he's got a great gap of nearly 2 seconds going to over the line for lap one. I'd love to see how Jan Danis has dropped from what looked like second or third down to P8. He was saying on the timing screen to P3 after turn one, and I mean I made a mistake, but I don't know where he's lost that much time.
No, his start was torrid, wasn't it? And we will get a replay of the start. This battle is going on now. Fabian Volvend, and it's Jan Danis who's trying to come back now at Fabian Volvend and make up from that torrid time of it he had right at the start of the race in the opening lap. So Martin Nelson is that's leading this group of cars at the moment, and he is the best of the AM drivers. So you've got a three-way fight going on there, which is actually P6, 7 and 8 in the race, but it's P1, 2 and 3 in the AM classification. So Martin Nelson leading at the moment from Fabian Volvend, and in comes Thomas O'Rourke. He balked right at the start, and whether there was a fault with the car, Thomas O'Rourke, who didn't have a good qualifying, it has to be said as well, so he's in the pit lane. In the meantime, whilst all that is going on, Sean Hudspeth is still under pressure from Björn Grossman, but Niklas Nielsen is just up the road.
Yeah, 2.3 second lead already. That's very impressive. Hudson at the moment doesn't have the answer to him for speed. But as we said earlier, it's a long old race.
So there is the battle for AMS once again, and Jan Danis just taking a look on the inside of Fabian Volvend then, and what these three have got is the hard-charging Chris Froggatt behind them as well, and Chris has learned his racecraft in such a short period of time.
Move
Danis has gone through. That's not where I expected an overtake to come, Sam.
Good manoeuvre there. He caught the other guy napping, and now he's going to get his head down and try and go for the leader of the pack in Pro-Am. But good move. And now Froggatt's following through.
So Fabian has lost out on 3 places there because Froggatt has gone through, and now Robert Purgel, the local driver, has gone through as well. Ooh. Now Fabian Volvend will try and come back at Robert Purgel now, and she should be able to do this. The drag race into turn number 1. It's Robert Purgel, the Scuderia Prague driver, and Octane 126 driver Fabian Volvend. But you're right, Martin Nelson is really under pressure from Jan Danis now, who's pushing and pushing and pushing. So Thomas O'Rourke, we saw in the pit lane, on his way out of the pit lane again now. So there is Purgel. This is the battle for P4 in the AMS then, and he's certainly got the measure of Fabian Volvend then, who lost out on 2 or 3 places in one hit. So Chris Froggatt just quietly stalking his prey ahead of him. And for Jan Danis here, he's right in the middle of this sandwich because he's going to try and attack, but he's also being minded that he's got to defend a little bit as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it looks to me like Danis is going to do the move down the inside here. Great manoeuvre.
That was really easy, wasn't it? If he can succeed, and he will, because he'll have the inside for the next turn. The incident involving cars 27, 37 and 44 is under investigation. 37, of course, being Jan Danis, where he got called out. Now he's going for the lead of the AM class. Because Martin Nelson is not prepared to just give up this, and Chris Froggatt is just waiting to bite, but Jan Danis does eventually succeed and make it his, so that relegates Martin Nelson to P2. Chris Froggatt is P3. That in the AM classification. In the meantime, in Trofeo Pirelli, Niklas Nielsen is 3 seconds up the road in P1. There you can see confirmation of Jens Liebhauser, Alessandro Vezzoni and Jan Danis all under investigation for obviously an incident right at the start, which I didn't see. You picked up on the fact that Danis had gone back, and now Martin Nelson loses out on that P2 place in the AMS because Chris Froggatt has gone through on the number 13 car of Scuderia Autoropa's Martin Nelson. Now Danis has got past. He's just up the road, isn't he? He's clearly got the pace, Sam.
He does clearly have the pace. What Danis has got is good ability on the brakes, and it looks like a bit of contact there between Nelson and Froggatt, which is not going to be very helpful for Nelson's car. A little bit of aerodynamic carbon fibres just flicked up off the front end. Nelson seems to be struggling on the brakes. Okay. It's quite clear that he's vulnerable under braking zones if you look at where he's being overtaken. So he needs to work on that. if I was Chris Froggatt now, I'd get my head down, try and follow what Jan Dennis does and try and learn from him and increase your speed.
Because Dennis has really just gone flying up the road, as Robert Purgel now is the next to try and attack Martin Nelson here. He'll go through on the inside, surely. Now, we saw that little piece of carbon fibre come off the Martin Nelson car in his quest to come back at Chris Froggatt, as Nelson comes back again at Robert Purgel, and Fabian Volven, the lady racer who lost out on 3 places, she's trying to take advantage of this battle that's going on as well, and not far behind is John Sawbridge and John Dillon also. This sort of 5-way fight that's going on here.
It's a great little scrap,
isn't it?
It's been going on for a couple of laps now. This is great racing. None of them want to let these positions go. They're all jostling and hustling. It's good to watch.
This little carbon fibre flick that got knocked off the Nelson car then, how will that affect the handling, Sam?
It'll be very, very small. It wasn't like it was a big hit. It's
right.
Just it might interrupt him a little bit mid-corner if he's right behind somebody. If he doesn't quite have that aerodynamic ability from the front end, it might give him a little bit more understeer, which in turn might hurt a little bit the front tyres, as we see another move under braking on Nelson.
So Nelson and Purgel here absolutely side by side once again. Let's go on board with Martin Nelson now. He runs Robert Purgel right onto the rumble strips and also the green as Purgel goes through now. Nelson will try and come underneath him. What Purgel needs to do now is make that 488 just a little bit wider than it currently is to try and prevent Martin Nelson from coming back at him. But I think he's done enough now as Purgel has got himself ahead of Martin Nelson. And it was interesting what you were saying, where Martin was losing his time, because now he's, rather than chasing Robert Purgel, he's going to have to defend against the lady racer Fabian Volven, who's trying to come back.
Well, all this fighting for these 4 or 5 at the back has meant that Jan Dennis and Chris Froggatt have just absolutely left them. I mean, there's no fight for those two now. They've got their head down, and they could finish first and second quite comfortably, as we see another move down the inside under braking on Nelson.
Whoa! And we just saw some dust being kicked up there as someone went off. Who have we lost there? Well, it is the number 39 car, isn't it, of John Sawbridge, who went around. I just saw the dust all coming off. So John Sawbridge, who was involved in that battle, in fact, he was ahead of John Dillon, wasn't he?
Yes. Difficult to see what happened though. Going back to the front of the race, though, you now see a 4-second lead for Nielsen over Hudspeth. So clearly got the pace today. Clearly happy with the balance, happy in his driving and his ability, and just cruising away at the front. And
this is often what we see from Niklas Nielsen. Once he gets his nose in front, that's it. You know, he's not for...
Well, he's the only one in the 206s at the moment. Everybody else is in the 207s or 208s, so quite clearly got the pace.
And presumably because he's clear with the track ahead of him, no one bothering him, he's going to be very, very accurate on the track. He's not going to take too much out of the tyres, is he? He's just going to concentrate on every apex, doing it properly. Whereas Bjorn Grossman here, who of course is P3 in the Trofeo Pirelli Pros, who is chasing down Sean Hudspeth, he'll be taking so much out of that car in terms of being aggressive, trying to find a way past.
Absolutely, you take more out of your tyres when you're following, because you're in dirty air, and also because you're trying to attack and overtake. One thing I have to say is P6 Jan Dennis is actually as fast, if not faster, than the guys in second and third who are pros.
Wow.
Which is a pretty decent effort, really. He's just put in his best lap of the race last lap, a 207.4. In comparison to that, Lieberhauser, who's running P4 overall and is a pro, is doing 208s.
Wow. A good spot that in terms of... here is the replay of the start. What happened here, Sam?
Let's just check. I thought I saw a false start. Absolutely. The car third from the back on the right-hand side. I'm unclear on who that is.
I think it's Vezzoni.
I think he's jumped the start. And I'm actually a race director, so I'm going to have to look at this.
Yeah.
You see the guys on the left of your screen now. He moves very early, and I'm going to have to be doing that frame by frame in about 25 minutes time.
Don't get on the wrong side of this man alongside me, okay?
I'm strict. It's black or white for me.
Well, in replay then, some of the highlights of some of the overtakes we've seen, and we've seen quite a few. This was the battle that was going on between Robert Purgel and Martin Nelson. Centimetre by centimetre, that was excellent. And Robert Purgel is actually in the pit lane there, and the Scuderia Prague driver, the local driver, coming back into the Ferrari Challenge for this round. Sadly, it looks like his race might be over because the belts are coming off and he's getting out of the car. So He was driving really, really well, wasn't he? And making a lot of overtakes. Can only assume maybe something wrong with the car there.
Yeah, that's a shame. Is that both the Czech drivers now either at the back or out of the race?
Well, we've got Robert Purgel, as you say, absolutely out of the race. But, of course, Jan Danis is the one that's really coming back.
Okay, Jan Danis, sorry, yeah.
So there is Niklas Nielsen, who, as you say, is just nailing it all. 5.4 seconds he's got over Sean Hudspeth in P2. The gap between Hudspeth and Grossman is about 8/10. And I think Grossman will have just taken so much out of his tyres in the first half of this race as Jens Liebhauser is trying to reel them in. And then we see Alessandro Vezzoni. But then probably one of the fastest men on the track, as you identified, is this man, Jan Danis for Scuderia Prague, leading the AMs and beginning to get close to troubling the pros as well.
He's closing in on Vezzoni. So he's about 1 second a lap quicker than the car in front, which is a pro car, so that's a magnificent effort. You look at the car attitude, though, between Danis and Nielsen, there's a huge difference. Nielsen looks like he's on a Sunday drive, pulling away from everybody. Danis looks like he's hustling the car.
Yes.
So it's really working the rear tyres. The car's moving and squirming underneath him. It's working for him, though. He's quick, and he's doing a super job. But it's just interesting to note the differences.
And Nielsen is, Niklas, as I mentioned just a few moments ago, once he's got his nose in front, he becomes super smooth. It's almost robotic, where lap after lap after lap, he nails everything, doesn't take too much out of the car, but does just enough to continually increase the gap from P1 to P2, which is exactly what he's doing now. He's gone up to 6/10 now, the margin between himself and Sean Hudspeth. Whereas, as you say, Jan Danis is just throwing absolutely everything at it. It's really entertaining for us to watch, but is Danis going to suffer come the second half of this race, which we're into now?
Well, there's roughly 8 laps to go. Time will tell, I suppose. Time will tell. But, I mean, Nielsen's record this year really isn't that good, is it, really? I mean, a first, a second, a first, a third, a first, a second. And I don't think you'd bet against him winning this one, to be honest with you.
No, you wouldn't. You're absolutely right. He's been a real star.
I think we should do reverse grid, see what he's like when he has to come through the pack.
Well, don't get me started on reverse grid, Sam, because that's something I really, really love, because it just mixes everything up. And but you certainly wouldn't bet against him cutting through the pack. Now, back to your prediction. Jan Danis is on Vezzoni, isn't he?
Just saw a massive slide from Grossman coming out of the coming into the start of sector 3, the long sweeping right-hander before these last 2 chicanes. Put down 2 massive dark lines on the acceleration, which would be really hurting his tyres.
Danis is going to have Vezzoni here, you know. There he goes.
Oh, now we'll get the cut back for the last corner. Go on, get on the power early. He's going to have a chance down into turn 1. He's going to do him. He's done him. Great move.
He set that up perfectly, Sam.
Yeah, boy's on fire.
So 246 kilometres per hour through the speed trap then, as Jan Danis puts himself ahead of the pro driver Alessandro Vezzoni, who I was talking to just before the start of this race, and he's got a fantastic collection of road cars as Alessandro Vezzoni, but I'm not going to tell you what he drives to the office because it's just unbelievable. But Jan Danis is ahead of him now.
But he doesn't need to do anything silly now. He's clearly got the pace. He's leading his category. There's no extra award that he's going to get for beating the pros. So he doesn't need to be getting into too many scraps with Vezzoni because he doesn't want Chris Froggatt to come back at him.
Exactly. Grossman now, despite the slide and the three cars getting a drive-through penalty hit. Oh no, one of them is Jan Danis. All that hard work, Sam. He's getting a drive-through penalty. So too is Björn Grossman, who is chasing Sean Hudspeth here. So we've got 3 cars with a drive-through penalty. They are John Dillon, who's P10. We have Björn Grossman, who's P3 in the race, and Jan Danis, who's the leader of the AMs.
Such a shame, because he's driven so well. So well.
It must be said, and you will be in race control for the Copa Shell race to come, that actually in the race control room there are so many monitors. You know, you really can be pinpoint accurate in terms of identifying who has done what.
Yeah, we have a system where we can freeze frame absolutely you know, piece by piece the start and rewind it and go forwards again.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely in time with the start lights. So it's pretty cut and dry when these things are given. There's not a fine line. It's either a jump start or it's not. So, you know, we're going to have three pretty unhappy men come the end of the race, and I think the most unhappy will probably be Jan Dennis.
And this is Grossman very, very close to getting past Sean Hudspeth there. It would be completely futile because he's got a drive-through penalty. So, as is the rule, once the driver's been advised of this drive-through penalty, you've got 3 laps, Sam, to take it.
Yep, absolutely. If I were them now, I'd get my head down and do 3 fast laps to try and get more distance between, say, if you're Grossman, you're going to be coming out around P8, P9 maybe.
P9 probably.
Do a couple of fast laps, you might actually get another position.
Okay.
Drive-through penalty as well for car 27.
Vezzoni.
So
he's the last of the pro drivers at the moment, and that is for a completely separate incident. Although Vezzoni, ironically, Sam, is the one that you and I picked up on and thought that he moved before the lights. So that just reinforces the fact that what we see is not as comprehensive as you can see.
No, we know nothing here.
Race control. What this does mean, of course, is that for Chris Froggatt, he's rubbing his hands with invisible soap, isn't he?
Great. I mean, will this be his first win of the season?
Froggatt? No, he's taken a win, surely. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, he's only had the 4 so far.
Yeah.
So this is a nice round number 5.
In the AMs, he's been almost as dominant as Nielsen has been in the pros. So Niklas Nielsen and Chris Froggatt then, because drive-through penalties for 4 cars. I remind you, they are John Dillon, they're Jan Dennis, Björn Grossman and Alessandro Vezzoni, with 10 minutes of the race left to run.
Shame is it was becoming quite a fascinating battle, really, wasn't it? The Jan Dennis climbing up through the field, watching a Pro-Am drive so well. It's kind of neutralised the race a little bit. You had Hudspeth under pressure from Grossman. Those 2 battles, or those 2 things, have been taken away from us a little bit, but even so, I mean, 11-second lead now for Nielsen. 11 seconds.
That's a huge margin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Grossman is in the pit lane, so too is Dennis, and so too is Alessandro Vezzoni. As they scream past our commentary position, you can almost hear the screaming from Björn Grossman's mouth. He will be utterly furious about that. Martin Nelson we're on board with now. Of course, this also plays into his hands as an AM driver. So Martin Nelson potentially could be on the podium for P3 in the AMs.
He's just come out ahead of Jan Dennis.
Oh.
Nelson. I'm pretty sure that we saw number 37 coming out the pits. So he's a few cars ahead. Okay.
So there you can see the drive-through penalty confirmation for those cars. They've taken their drive-through penalties now, so they're on their way out. Björn Grossman, you're absolutely right, is ahead of Martin Nelson. So he will be livid, absolutely livid with that, as we're into the Formula Racing garage. Of course, from their point of view, Niklas Nielsen doing an absolutely fantastic job right at the start. And here he is with just a smidgen under 12 seconds of margin from Sean Hudspeth, who, let's be truthful, is not a tugger, is he?
No,
you know, he's a quick
exactly.
driver.
He's raced in all kinds of things. You look at his racing pedigree, he's raced in Blancpain, he's raced in other formulas, so he's no slouch.
But Niklas Nielsen, well, you can see he's almost reeling in the backmarking Tommaso Roca car. To be fair, Tommaso Roca was in the pit lane early on in the race with some problem, but came back out again. And there is Tommaso Roca for Rosso Corsa. Well, Niklas Nielsen, our race leader, is nearly on him. You might see him into this shot just.
Well, Nielsen is currently lapping 2 seconds a lap faster than anybody else on the circuit.
That's extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. And a lot of that will be, of course, as he's taken the lead, he's just quietly gone about his business. He's not had to be aggressive, has he, Sam? And he's protected everything in the car, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
I mean, he's a super smooth, quick driver anyway.
Yeah, he's clearly got the talent, got the pace, got the car in the right working window. He's been under no pressure, and he's making it look very, very easy.
So Niklas Nielsen then, former single-seater racer in German Formula 4 and Italian Formula 4, and also raced in, would you believe, Tin Top Series that supported the DTM as well. Made his debut in the Ferrari Challenge at the end of last year in the Finale Mondiale, and as I say, he set his stall out then. We always knew he would be quick, and I have to say, a driver like this, proving what he can do, something that you and I have talked about, Sam, so often as John Dillon takes his drive-through penalty. You know, Niklas is perhaps underfunded, maybe, and perhaps hasn't had the breaks that he deserves, but his true quality and talent is being shown in this, isn't it? And it's a great shop window, this Ferrari Challenge.
I was just about to say, it's really nice that we've got some really talented young guys coming through the Ferrari Challenge.
Yeah.
We see it in other series with other manufacturers that they might be picked up from that manufacturer if they do a good job in their local series.
Sure.
You know, actually, Earl Bamber from Porsche did Porsche Carrera Cup Asia. Lo and behold, he goes and wins Le Mans twice in an LMP1 car.
Yes.
So it can be done, and I think people like that are proof that these series do work. Niklas Nielsen, you never know. 2-3 years' time, could he be on the books of Ferrari, somebody else? He's got every chance. He's clearly got the speed.
Yes. This is the leader of the AMs then, Chris Froggatt. And the leader of the pros that we've been just extolling the virtues of is Niklas Nielsen, who's 13 seconds to the good, nearly 14 seconds to the good over anybody else. So the 1, 2, 3 in the pros, it's Niklas Nielsen, Sean Hudspeth, then it's Jens Liebhauser, and the leader of the AMs is Chris Froggatt, followed by Fabian Volvend, and Jan Danis has got past Martin Nelson, so Jan Danis is going to get at least a podium, providing nothing happens in the remaining 6.
He's had such an up and down race, my
God.
God.
Look how he's just up the road from Martin Nelson.
Yeah.
There you can just see his car disappearing over the crest.
Well, let's take a look at this. So Jan Danis is P3. He's got a 6-second gap to the car in front. That's doable. I think that's doable. He's got 6 minutes to do it, so that's 3 racing laps. That could be done if he gets his stuff together. That's possible.
Well,
it's quite exciting.
He's had his stuff together for the race, hasn't he? I mean, that would be an extraordinary achievement. There is Martin Nelson then, who we continue to watch, but Jan Danis is going to chase after Fabien Volven now. That's next within his target sights. It's the lady racer.
Well, he's 2 seconds a lap faster. 3 laps to go. You never know. You never know.
Curious things happen in this wonderful sport that we love so much.
I'm saying at the end of the race, there's going to be a battle for second in the Pro-Am. That's all I think.
Okay, well, there is a second in the pros at the moment. That's Sean Hudspeth, who, you rightly said, Sam, has got a good racing pedigree. Asian Le Mans Series, Carrera Cup, Super Cup. He's done a lot of racing, Formula Masters as well. And
you can see Lieberhauser's mirror there. Right-hand mirror is turned in, so he's had some contact somewhere.
There's been contact, hasn't there?
Yeah.
So there is Jens then, winner of the AM Championship last year, elevated to the Pros Championship for this year, and I have to say I'm not going to say he's struggled with it, but it's been a real step up for Jens, and you can see that in terms of his position. He's P3 at the moment. Sean Hudspeth is P2, and Niklas Nielsen is already in the city centre of Brno buying us a coffee already. He's got that much time, just under 15 seconds to the good, and we've got 4.5 minutes of the race remaining. There is Sean Hudspeth, then there is Jens Liebhauser. So Jan Danis now he's got 5 seconds.
Yeah,
it's coming down, isn't it?
It's coming down. It's coming
you could
down.
be right here. That'd be brilliant. Last lap.
Come on, Jan, make it work.
Yes, this would be fantastic for us.
Make it exciting.
So Jan Danis then chasing down Fabien Volvend. If he takes a P2 out of this race, it will be extraordinary. Chris Froggatt is leader in the AMs. He will add another win to his really rather robust tally of wins for this season, and reinforce his position at the top of the AM Drivers' Championship. It's a remarkable feat for a man that's only in his 2nd season of motor racing. Chris Froggatt, who has come into this championship and has been really, really excellent and great fun to watch. So Chris Froggatt it is that leads the AM race at the moment, with Fabien Volven currently P2, but now within 4.7 seconds is Jan Dennis, then, who is P3. So he's already on the podium. And Sam Bird's prediction is that he could be wrestling that P2 away from Fabien Volvend before the end of the race, of which we have 3 minutes remaining.
I think he's going to throw a move to try and do P2, absolutely. If he's got a sniff of it, he's going to try it. Hats off to Chris Froggatt for the drive today. Nothing... Did I just hear?
Yes, I think you did.
A load of tyre squeal. Hats off to Chris Froggatt for the drive today. You know, nothing too spectacular, just kept it all under control. Not gone in any major scraps, just gone about his work quietly and you know, as you've said, done a super job so far this year.
I think, to be fair, that's been a real mark of Chris. As the seasons have developed, he has realised that actually not every race is won on the first lap, Sam.
Yep.
You know,
you do need to, in order to finish first you must finish.
Always.
You're seeing now drivers start to worry about their tyre life.
I don't believe it. I've just looked at the timing screen. You tell our audience.
Well, guess what's happened, guys? I'll tell you what's happened. Jan Dennis is in P2 in the Pro-Am. How's that?
He was 4 seconds behind. I wonder if the tyre squeals you heard were Fabien Volvend.
I think so, because look, she's 8 seconds behind now, so I think she's had a little
Please, can we have a replay of the Jan Dennis on Fabien Volvend? Because now there is Fabien Volvend now being chased by Martin Nelson. So Nelson wasn't in the game, was he?
No.
And here comes Alessandro Vezzoni on Martin Nelson as well. He, of course, is running in a different category, but he had that drive-through penalty. So thanks to Nico for picking that up, because Jan Dennis is already ahead. So on board with Martin Nelson then for Scuderia Autoropa as he's chasing down Fabien Volvend. And Sam, you heard the tyres squealing.
Yep.
And obviously it was a problem for Fabien Volvend. Jan Dennis.
Ooh, she's going wide again. Wonder if her tyres are suffering a little bit.
Maybe so. Martin didn't actually seize that quite as much as I thought he would.
No.
Because, of course, he will be suffering from tyre degradation as well, won't he?
Absolutely. Everybody will be now. Everybody. Nelson hasn't, as we said at the beginning of the race, he's not been the strongest in terms of braking, so he's going to have to do something brave if he wants a podium. He's going to have to brake as late as he has all day in order to wrestle this away, I reckon, from Fabien.
I think he's going to do it. We're on the last lap, incidentally. Niklas Nielsen leading by 20.2 seconds. And Sean Hudspeth is P2, Jens Liebhauser is
Fabien's
P3.
really struggling with rear tyres now. They really...
Yeah.
She's paying for it now. This last lap's going to be painful for her. The rear of the car is moving all over the place. She can't carry any minimum. She's terrified of the brake pedal as well. Terrified to turn the car into the corner, it looks like, because she's really suffering. And you can see that the way that the car just doesn't want to change direction for her in the way that I'd want it to.
So this is now the last lap as Niklas Nielsen has crossed the timing line. I'm sorry, she's going to have to try and do this for another lap, Sam.
8 kilometres that she's got to do. Oh, painful. Painful. I mean, exciting for us,
yeah,
but
of course.
Painful for her.
What can Fabien Volvend do? But then you see Matt Nelson struggling, isn't he? Look at that, he's power sliding through that turn,
He's
Sam.
pushing hard, he's pushing.
So, the remainder of this lap for Fabien Volvend to try and keep at bay Martin Nelson. This is the fight that's going on for the final AM position.
Oh, and you see the rubber being laid down by all the drivers now on mid and exits. It's great to watch. The tyres are screaming at the drivers right now, but great to watch.
So, can Fabien Volvend hold on to this final AM podium place? On the podium, we're expecting Chris Froggatt, Jan Dennis with an extraordinary drive. Then it will be Fabien Volvend at the moment, who, for the moment, seems to have seen off the charge of Martin Nelson. Sam, I don't think he's got anything to offer. I really don't. I think he's struggling. But the man that really has not struggled is this man, right at the top of the pros, leading the race overall, Niklas Nielsen, with 21.05 margin over P2. That's an extraordinary margin.
Hey, he could have come in and had an espresso, couldn't he, halfway through, and he'd still be leading. What a great drive. You know, it might look easy. It is still never easy in a car, but he's been smooth, calculated, fast. Everything's worked for him. He's got 2 corners to go, and he'll be spraying champagne.
So, 6th win on the cards for Niklas Nielsen in the season so far. Then he's been supremely dominant, and he has just looked outstanding once again in this race. As for Formula Racing, he banks his 6th P1 in the season so far. Niklas Nielsen takes the win. We'll just read a copy of the newspaper before we get to the P2 driver, which is Sean Hudspeth, because he's some 21 seconds behind. Thomas O'Rourke is a backmarking car. Here comes the P2 driver, Sean Hudspeth then, as he heads towards the timing line, and he crosses it for P2, 21.2 seconds behind the leader. And then Jens Liebhauser on the podium for the P3 in pros. Chris Froggatt will take the win for the AMS. He's had another very, very good drive. Bjorn Grossman then, it'll be a P4 for him, and there is Bjorn Grossman. And then perhaps the most extraordinary drive came from Jan Dennis in the all-yellow car then, who will take P2 in the AM classification. Bear in mind, ahead of Fabian Volvend, who takes P3. We must remind you that Jan Dennis had taken a drive-through penalty in all of that.
Well, he dropped back at the start. He had a drive-through penalty for a jump start. He overtook low to drive as he got himself in the lead, pulled away in the lead, had a drive-through, and then got back up into P2. I mean, it's a race of, he'll be happy with his drive, but what could have been? He could have got an outright podium today.
Yes,
I mean, he had the pace, so he's got another chance.
Yes.
He's got another chance tomorrow, but yeah, what an entertaining race Jan Dennis had.
Well, you've got to head off and do the podium now, haven't you?
I do. They go and have to collect cups off me. So I'm going to love you and leave you. It's been great, as always, and I will see you over the course of the weekend.
Bless you. Sam Bird, then, the official Ferrari GT driver, alongside us then to bring us his expert opinion in that race, and very grateful to him. The race won by Niklas Nielsen then. P1, Sean Hudspeth P2, Jens Liebhauser P3. The best of the AMs then, Chris Froggatt P4. Then it was Jan Dennis and Fabian Volvend. What a blooming race, let me tell you. Niklas Nielsen again, and supremely dominant, doing a very good job indeed. Good job too from Chris Froggatt. So the cars making their way back then to the pit lane and the Parc Fermé area. And their confirmation of the top 3 in each then. Niklas Nielsen taking the win in the pros with Sean Hudspeth P2, Jens Liebhauser P3. Chris Froggatt for the AMS, Jan Dennis P2, Fabian Volvend P3. Extraordinary racing from Trofeo Pirelli. More to come from them tomorrow. And cars into the Parc Fermé area. Such a race, so many overtakes. Let's take a look at some of the highlights now. So a thumbs up from Thomas O'Rourke as the cars were about to be released on their formation lap. On board with Martin Nelson. And then as the lights went out, a number of drivers are judged to have jumped the start, which meant there was all sorts of confusion right at the start of the race. Jan Dennis initially doing a very, very good job. Then he will have been adjudged to have jumped the start and will suffer a drive-through penalty, not before he lost a whole heap of places there. Alessandro Bezzoni, the first of those to go through on the number 37 car. Niklas Nielsen, as has so often happened, just escaped up the road as Sean Hudspeth and Bjorn Grossman were arguing over P2, and Bjorn Grossman was another one of those that was going to have been adjudged to jump the start. Martin Nelson and Fabian Volvend in the AM classification, they were having their own ding-dong battle, and at one point there was a bit of contact there between Martin Nelson and the Chris Froggatt car. Martin Nelson getting passed by the local driver Robert Purgel, returning to the Ferrari Challenge. And when the checkered flag came down, Niklas Nielsen would win by a margin of some 21 seconds. Another extraordinary drive from the Formula Racing driver. Formula Racing pretty happy about that, as you can imagine. And there he is. And Alan Jurgensen, the team boss there, one of the first to go and congratulate him. Niklas Nielsen banking the 6th win of the season. He'll be heading up to the podium. There is Jens Liebhauser, also for Formula Racing. So jolly good time for them. Just trying to listen in to some of the conversations. And there is Fabian Volven.
Thank you. Hey!
So she was involved in a number of battles, and in the end takes a podium. And everyone heading up towards the podium area. Only lost one car in the race, and that was the car, ironically, of the local driver, Robert Pergel.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are waiting the drivers on the podium for the...
So Michele Mambelli then is about to get the drivers up there onto the podium.
First race, Pirelli Trophy in Brno, Czech Republic. And first podium for Pirelli Trophy.
So stand by then, podium ceremony is about to get underway. So Niklas Nielsen then.
The drivers are ready and...
I wonder if that might be, for Niklas Nielsen, the biggest race-winning margin he has ever had. Might be a question that I will pose to him in a few moments from now, as I'll be heading up there also. 178 points to 147 now between Niklas Nielsen and Björn Grossman. Then Jens Liebhauser is P3 on 76 points in the Drivers' Championship. Wow. So the podium is readied. And everyone assembled around the podium area here at the Brno circuit.
Ferrari Challenger Trofeo Pirelli, Brno, Czech Republic, third on the podium, Jens Liebhauser.
So for Germany then, Jens Liebhauser takes P3. Two podiums as always, the Pro Podium and the AM Podium. So it's Pro Podium first of all with Jens Liebhauser, then it's Sean Hudspeth taking P2. And Niklas Nielsen then banking yet another win in what has been an extraordinary successful career in the Ferrari Challenge thus far. Alan Jurgensen for Formula Racing then representing the team up there on the podium as well.
Our claps for
Well done, Niklas. Antonello Coletta then, the head of Ferrari GT Sporting Activities, making the trophy presentation to Jens Liebhauser. And to Sean Hudspeth. And once again to Niklas Nielsen. Alan Jurgensen then receives the Formula Racing team. Teo Meyer will be here with the Pirelli trophy as well. And he makes that trophy presentation to Niklas Nielsen.
Teo Meyer, and now all together, please, all driver on the first step of the podium, all driver in the first step. Please, together, all driver. Lift your trophy, lift.
Oh, well done,
smile.
Mikhail. The right word.
Okay.
Lift your trophy.
This is a picture from Czech Republic, Brno. Okay, guys, photos and videos from Czech Republic, Brno circuit. And attention, please. We are ready for the
Well done,
Champagne
Jens Liebhauser. Well, tell you what, Mr. Jurgensen really got it then, didn't he? Because Jens Liebhauser made a run for him and made sure that he got soaked. So super slow-mo's the top three then. Jens Liebhauser for Formula Racing. It's P3.
Without champagne battle.
P2 goes the way of Sean Hudspeth then in car number 16. And taking the win in a dominant style once again, it's Niklas Nielsen. So we're standing by. Hopefully we can bring you the AM podium as well. And there is the classification once again in Trofeo Pirelli. Nielsen, Hudspeth, Liebhauser, Grossman, and then Vetsoni. All the information at races.ferrari.com, of course. There we can see shots in Parc Fermé of the Jens Liebhauser car. And we await the AM podium, which will contain Chris Froggatt, Jan Danis, and Fabien Volvend. Here at the Brno circuit, Czech Republic. What a race we've seen. Here is confirmation then of the classification in the AMs. Chris Froggatt takes P1, Jan Danis P2, Fabien Volvend P3, Martin Nelson just off the podium. Then it was John Sawbridge, John Dillon, Thomas O'Rourke, and of course a non-finish for Robert Purgel, sadly. Lady racer Fabien Volvend then is making her way onto the third step of the podium as we speak. Jan Danis then with an extraordinary drive, bearing in mind that he had a drive-through penalty as well. He takes P2. And then on the top step of the podium is the already tall Chris Froggatt, who will tower above both Jan Danis and Fabien Volvend. Here comes the national anthem. So the anthem plays out then for Chris Froggatt, who receives his trophy in a few seconds' time, because Fabien Volvend receives her trophy from Antonella Coletta first of all, and then of course it is Jan Danis with an extraordinary drive to take P2. Chris Froggatt then takes another race winner's trophy. And of course, FF Corsa, the UK team, will take the team's trophy as well for engineering Chris Froggatt. And here comes Teo Meyer to make the Pirelli trophy to Chris Froggatt as well.
Teo Meyer, Pirelli Racing Department. And now for all drivers all together.
So photographs now for the drivers before the champagne is unleashed.
Okay, smile for photos and video. Okay, smile, smile, smile. Okay, and now we are ready for the
time for the champagne. And there it is, and there we have it then. Race 1 for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli done and dusted. My thanks to Sam Bird for being alongside. Make sure you join us for the race 2 tomorrow. But before that, we have a Copa Shell race to come this afternoon. And 165 points is where Chris Froggatt is at the top of the Drivers' Championship. Bye-bye for now.